Hi, it's Professor Moylan. In this video, we're going to go over Blackboard, which is a very, very common learning management system, the one that you have, of course, and we're going to just cover the basics, a real broad overview. We'll dive deeper into several of these topics in separate standalone videos. First thing to note is when you bring up a Blackboard class for the first time, and your IT department will have created the classes, I assign them to you, it'll be empty. It'll be blank. So here what I did was I went back in time to a spring 2019 class and emptied it out so we could just use this for illustrative purposes. There are only two sections, or two areas. There's the area at the top that you can customize, the content area, and then there's the area at the bottom, the course management, that has all kinds of capabilities that will tie in with what you've put into the class. But remember, we're going to separate, what you put in there with regard to content up at the top, and then the control panel, all those tools down at the bottom. Okay, content. This is just stuff that you can put in there. In fall 2020, this is probably the place where you're going to put the stuff that you might have been handing out in person or giving your lecture. Maybe now it'll be a video lecture or an audio lecture, PDFs that might have been handouts. And if you've got any links, hyperlinks, web links to content that's on the internet, of course you can put that here. In the past, if you did everything in a physical classroom, you might not have had any of this kind of stuff on course content, but you probably used it for things like assignments and quizzes. Okay, again, we've got a separate standalone video on course content. Let's look at the second area. Well, before I leave course content for just a second, when you want to add things, you click on that little plus sign up there, and then you've got all of these capabilities. But again, we'll cover that in a separate standalone video. Let's go down to the second half, the lower half, where we've got the control panel. And when we click on that control panel, it then opens up what our areas below it are: content collection, course tools, evaluation, grade center, user forms, and so on. Let's take those one at a time, starting with content collection. Now, if you're thinking, oh wait, Bill, didn't you just talk about content collection above? Let's see. Okay, I've got different buckets of content collection. Now, this course number, 40345, etc., that's just the stuff that I've put in there myself. So that's one way to group the content. But then there's also all content that I've ever created, I can get with all courses content. So if I click on that, all the courses that I've created in the past, all the content that I put there, I can get access to that. The reason why that is helpful is if you've ever created anything in the past, you can go get it and bring it into the present, or if you're building a class for the first time, remember that anything you put in here, you can then use again in the future. Of course, I don't have to limit myself to just stuff that I have done. Look below there, all organizations content and institution content. So you've got a lot of access to content there, maybe that even you didn't create. And you notice there you can search. Okay, let's click on the next tab, and that is course tools. Look at all those course tools. If you've not used Blackboard before, you're probably not going to mess with any of those other than send email. That's a really important communication tool, especially in a distance learning situation. And so we've got a separate standalone video on that. The next area I want to look at is the grade center. Needs grading. If you've set your class up so that students turn in assignments via Blackboard, as soon as they turn in an assignment, it will show up in the needs grading, a place for you to grade it, which is very, very helpful. However, even if you don't do that, even if you don't set up any assignments here in Blackboard, I think it's a good idea to use the grade center to just manually put in the grades that you might have, simply so that students can always know exactly where they stand from a grade standpoint. So we've got a separate standalone video on the grade center. Users and groups. Groups are especially important capability in a distance learning environment if you want to encourage collaboration by having group assignments. Group assignments are obviously a lot easier when everybody's together in the same physical class, but because these students are pretty tech savvy, they can do a pretty decent job of meeting virtually. I had pretty good results with that in the spring semester. We were halfway through when we went online, and the students were already well on their way towards putting a business plan together. Each of them was on a specific team, and they continued that project virtually. I aided them by setting them up in groups so that they could use that functionality to communicate very well amongst one another, and so that I could communicate with them. That was another great capability that you get with groups. Packages and utilities. We're not going to worry about this now, and the reason is this is for once you've got courses, you can export them, or other courses you can import them. But if this is the first semester you're working on Blackboard, that's not going to be much of an issue for you right now. But do remember, this is a great capability in the future. And finally, help. If you are stuck in Blackboard, they've got some great online help. And if you look at the very bottom there, video tutorials, I have found those to be extremely helpful. So there are a number of tutorials, video tutorials, that the Blackboard people put together that you can utilize to help you with your course design in Blackboard. That's a quick overview. Again, we'll dive deeper in some standalone videos.